welcome to the Contingency Plan Podcast. My name is Jedi Master David, and with me as always is Darth Austin.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, man, back again. No Kenobi this week, though. Are you disappointed?
Kenobi.
Are you disappointed?
I mean, I kind of wish we had more Kenobi, but
Well, this just in. There's more. No, just kidding. We don't know any of that crap.
that was like a Stranger Things type deal. It's just the first drop. We're getting a second part of the season. Surprise.
Yeah, I haven't watched the this newest whatever partial season yet.
We just finished it, so we don't really have to wait. It comes out in like 2 days, I think.
Oh, really?
It's
wow.
pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah,
Very cool.
It's pretty good.
Well,
are you
cool.
up to date before this? Did
Yeah.
you watch season 3? Okay.
Yep. Don't really remember too much about it, but yeah. I mean, I remember the one jerky guy wound up being a poop monster.
You don't remember Hopper and his
Well, yeah.
crazy... I mean, spoilers. I'm not going to ruin it for anybody. It's only like a year old, you know. He died.
No, he didn't.
I know.
I mean, see, I mean, come on. We all know he didn't die. That was kind of lame. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, my God, we've had David Harbour shoved down our throats, and that's not that sounds bad. Not really, but he's just been out and about like a lot. So
yeah, the show really did launch him quite a bit, and he had done stuff before, but
yeah, a
not
little bit.
Really, anything that I can call to mind at the moment.
Well, then he also got the role of what was it? The not Captain America in the Black Widow movie, the Russian version of Captain America.
Captain Russia.
That wasn't it.
I know that's not it.
I don't remember what it was.
I could probably look it up by just Googling that, and then they'd know what I mean.
I'm sure you could
do that.
But yeah, no, he's certainly been out and about, you know, here and there. But yeah.
Oh, it is Captain Russia.
Really? I
Yeah.
thought he had a different
Alexia
name than that.
Shostakov. I'm not going to try that. I'm not good with Russian names. Yeah, it is Captain Russia.
Are you sure? Because I thought he had a different name.
That's the ultimate Marvel version.
Oh my God, Red Guardian. That's what it was.
Oh,
it's Red Guardian. Yes, Captain Russia definitely seems like something they would have done in the 80s or something like that, or 90s. Yeah.
Wasn't that
Red
Ultimate
Guardian.
Marvel around the 80s or something?
I don't know.
It was this goofy Marvel stuff.
I don't know enough about any of that to really speak on it. So.
We're making so many people mad right now. I thought you were true Disney fans.
We never said we were Disney fans. And anyway, Marvel wasn't Disney back then, so.
Well, all that stuff doesn't count anymore, just like Star Wars.
That's not necessarily true.
No, they won't wipe all that crazy lore away because that's easy to maintain, but Star Wars isn't. Yeah. Star Wars got too bloated, but Marvel didn't.
Yeah, that's difficult. Well, anyway, we're not going to be talking about Kenobi this week, or Red Guardians, Captain Russia's, or any other Marvel Cinematic Universal thing. We are actually going to be taking a look back at a book that came out in
April 5th. April 5th.
You sure about that? Yeah, so April. This is just where I just question you about everything.
Yeah, it's fine. I have it pulled up.
No, I do too. I'm just screwing around. So yeah. Well, to be 100% accurate here, it was actually released.
You can say January
25th in Germany.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so we blew right past this book. I think we were effectively doing a lot of lead up to Kenobi, and then obviously Kenobi, and yeah, I figured this would be a good one just to kind of like step out of Kenobi, step into a series that I think we've generally positively reviewed, right? The first two, but especially the first one.
Yeah.
Second one, yeah.
The second one kind of felt in a way like it didn't necessarily need to happen, but it was still a decent story. The first one was very good, I thought.
Well, the first one was specifically the occupation, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that really established that really established all the handmaidens, and I don't know, it just gave a kind of a cool view of who they were, you know?
Yeah, the dynamic between them, and gave some faces to these unknown characters from Phantom Menace that honestly, before reading these books, I don't know if I ever really thought about them all that much. I mean, they were mentioned, but it's just not something I ever considered.
What was the second book called? I actually think I might have a copy of it.
Queen's Peril?
Queen's Peril, that's what it was. I was trying to remember. Because Queen's Shadow, no, that's easy enough. And they, there were even some parallels in this book to with continuing to talk about Sabe, who is truly more the Queen's Shadow than anyone else. Let's see, what was Queen's Peril's plot? This is one I'm not really remembering all that much. You don't really remember either, do you?
Bit. I mean, I feel like there was a.
So this one was
like
actually
there was some kind
during
of attempt
her
on
reign.
her life during.
This was the prequel to Queen's Shadow. So effectively, this was where they actually talked more about her reign as queen, and more specifically drilling into how they chose the handmaidens. You remember that this is the one where they went to a little dance party with old Harley, getting in some teenage girl trouble.
Now, near the end of that,
teenager
they do
things.
actually transition to her becoming a senator, though, correct? We get like a quarter of the book or a third or something where she is a senator.
Let's see. I think
or is that Shadow?
No, I think you might, because I think Shadow was primarily just the occupation of Naboo.
Okay.
And this also had some of the stuff like specifically on Tatooine. Peril did. It actually moved through a lot because I remember now. So this was like we had gotten to the second half of the book. And it's like, why did we write this? Remember, it was like, why are they re-explaining things that we already saw in a movie type of deal?
Yeah, and wasn't there a plot point for them freeing slaves on Tatooine?
I don't. Well, Sabe
saves like 6 children or something.
Yeah,
and then Sashay ends up adopting some of them with Erte. Or Rabe.
We
were talking about this before we started recording. It's very difficult to keep them all straight.
Yep, come on. Let me go through my tabs. Let me get to Sabe's tab because I pulled her up. For Pete's sake. Was it Yane, maybe?
It might have been Yane.
Yeah, we actually don't have to remember much in the way of names for this particular book, so that's actually okay.
It's actually the smallest cast that we see so far.
Yeah, Yane was Sashay's wife. They indeed
adopted
did.
all the slave children and a few others.
This big family. And also, just character wise, was kind of one of the favorites to sort of become like the governor. Bibble's role. And that's where we get into Panaka's eventual rise, Quarsh Panaka, and then how he was really chosen by Palpatine overall, like throughout the entire thing. And we'll talk about him a little bit here when we get into the book. But Panaka eventually becomes the governor of Naboo, and that's kind of the downturn through the Empire years. Because Panaka, unfortunately, was a pretty stalwart Empire guy, unfortunately, which kind of stinks.
Yeah.
Which I kind of think is why they wrote in Typho sort of as sort of another, kind of captain who's like cooler than Panaka. It's like, well, we have to have an evil guy. Let's just give that to Panaka and we'll make Typho. We'll make another one. I feel like that's how it went down. We got to have another one who's like the exact same guy, but just good.
Basically. Only they pair him up with Sabe near the end instead of with Padme. And of course, you get to kind of see the downfall of their relationship over one decision, Quarsh. I mean, not
Quarsh, yeah.
The other dude. But, they get into some... That, of course, that's the last book, not this one. But there's still kind of some mention of that. They're trying to work it out, but they just don't trust each other anymore. And he just, turns into a jerk.
Yeah, unfortunately, as a kind of a sad downfall to a potentially cool character.
I liked his wife. I think she was more pronounced in the second book.
Yeah, she was.
Marriott?
Yeah, it's something like that. I was, I think I actually had her pulled up maybe somewhere too. But yeah, she was also one of the guards. Mm-hmm. And very... I actually wonder, I don't know, maybe one day we can kind of look into that. Yeah, Marique Panaka.
Marique. Okay.
Oh, and tidbit, Panaka was actually taken out by Saul Guerrero.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm,
I forgot about that.
What happened to Marique? That's, I actually don't know if they really wrote any sort of into her story. Doesn't really say. I guess they didn't really continue to write anything for her. That's unfortunate. But anyway, so yeah, we're going to go through Queen's Hope today, ramble on through it, and, just give some thoughts on that. But before we get into that, how's the week been?
Not too bad. Rolling on into 4th of July weekend here pretty soon. Gonna get a little break. I think I have a week off of school. So crazy week this week. Got a final to pump out, including a book report. So it's not necessarily a fun week, but definitely looking forward to the weekend. What about you?
Yeah, not so much. Not so much really going on so far this week that I can remember. Pretty much standard
normal
stuff.
Week.
Yeah, we did some smoking of some wings over this past weekend. Had wings and drums and thighs all nice and smoky with some sauces, and went out to Dad's and had a little eating. We eated the food.
We eated the food and drinking the beers and had a good time.
Yeah, that was good. And then the weekends coming up. I know. I think it's Friday. Going to walk down and catch some of Red, White, and Boom. I think.
Nice.
And then, which is downtown Columbus, Ohio's sort of big fireworky show. Mm-hmm. And then. Yeah, nothing really else planned. I do have a couple days off next week that I'm just going to try and take advantage of. Get caught up, do some general stuff that I've been putting off and see where that takes me. But yeah, that's about it. Nothing too crazy.
It's kind of nice having it fall the way it does, get a Monday off. Kind of looking forward to that. Be a nice little extra long weekend.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That is indeed fantastic.
That's right. It isn't fantastic, this book. No.
Wow. Wow. Okay. All right. Look, let's go ahead and get into this book then. What do you think?
Yeah.
So one advantage of waiting this long is that there are several plot summaries that get published.
Oh my God. And this is like one of the best plot summaries I think we've had for a book. If it's like we don't even have to think about it for once.
Well, and we normally try and do things like as they come out, just to keep with the tide and everything. But it can be hard. And like I said, we were so behind. I mean, we haven't done Thrawn. We haven't gotten into that yet. There are several things we haven't gotten into, and I don't know, we'll probably miss other stuff too. But yeah, it is always nice to have a big, healthy plot summary.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So anyway, if you did listen to or buy / listen to the audiobook, that was a reasonably good experience. Catherine Tabor comes back to voice the audiobook, and listen length just under 7 hours. So actually a bit shorter overall production there, which, to be honest with you, I mean, is kind of nice.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I didn't mind that. They didn't bloat this book very much, and I was okay with that. And
I have a couple of long.
Catherine is definitely the voice of Padme now.
Oh, 100%. Well, I have some books that I listen to regularly that, longer books that, like when I'm out on my walks or something like that, I can just flip on and I don't really have to listen to all that hard. Mm-hmm. But when we're doing stuff like this, it is kind of nice when the book is under, say, 10 hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I started listening to this Monday and was able to finish it almost twice by the end of today at work, mm-hmm. and I didn't really listen to it much Tuesday, so it's a nice... Of course, I read or listen to it a little bit quicker. I usually can get a book like this done in 4 hours, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. but it is nice to have something simple, and it is a very simple, easier book to follow for the most part, except for some of the handmaiden stuff gets a little twisted, mm-hmm. but just a nice casual read.
Yeah, for sure, and definitely more in the young adult kind of mm-hmm. Reading pattern, I would say, as well. I do not like criticizing writers. However, I do notice at times when books become a little bit either overly descriptive or maybe a bit superfluous in areas where it's like, did you really need to put that there? No, it didn't seem like it to me. And that's just a me thing. That's an opinion. I did feel a little bit like that in this book. I really do. I don't know, man. I got to say, the first book, Queen's Shadow, was really good. And it was really well written. And it felt nice and it felt complete. Peril, for some of its silliness, which I think we both wrote off to just teenagers, which is kind of what it was for, was fine. I did kind of see myself stopping a few times and being like, was that entire paragraph really necessary?
Especially with a lot of the clothes-related stuff, which I get. Like that was kind of a big part of her thing. That obviously that was, to an extent kept her alive. I mean, they did kind of make it cool how like everything was woven with steel reinforcements and had little access panels to get out really quickly in combat situations. And, mm-hmm. The descriptors were good, but at the same time, do I really need to know everything she's doing or to pick clothes for, a position as a senator opposed to a queen literally in peril? Like, do I need to know which hairstyle would be the best to fit under a flight helmet?
Yeah,
for I mean, way too many lines of dialogue.
Yeah, those are certainly interesting levels of detail, but they do kind of become, a bit
bloated.
I suppose so. Well, and I think, God, we sound all so negative, but I feel like this. It's almost like we're not really telling like a true story. It felt a little bit more like we're being just told events, as opposed to giving a story. It's just telling us sort of like, okay, so this happened, okay, so the hair, and then they do this, and then they are back, and then they do something else. You know what I mean?
It's almost like it's more important than actually what happens.
Kind of.
In the event. which is odd to me. I guess one thing I could compare it to, it's kind of like Alphabet Squadron in a way where, like, the first first book, it was unique, it was different, it was special, it was pretty cool. The writing style was something that we hadn't seen before, so it was fresh. Then you get into the second one, it's like, okay, maybe we could change the direction a little bit, but I get it, this is a theme. And by the third one, you're just a little burnt out with it. It's not even necessarily the book's fault as much as just you're tired of it. Like, it is what it is, but it's not necessarily my cup of tea anymore.
I have 2 words for you. Alphabet Squadron. You know what I mean? I remember how we were so excited after Alphabet Squadron, the first book in the series. And then we got to that second book, like, oh my God, cults. And then the third book was kind of a bit of a write-off. And I'm not...
The third book, it was just everyone was so emo and depressing and miserable, and you just hated everyone by the end of that book. Everybody. You hated everybody.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I hate everybody in the end of this book, but, like, you're just so sick of it. It's like, okay, I'm done. Like, I don't necessarily want to see what Sabe does now. I don't necessarily want to see what A the Handmaidens do now, to be honest.
I'll tell you honestly, like, there are parts that... So one of the pieces of this is Sabe and... hey, wow, first tab, that's good. Tanra. So Sabe and Tanra are off on Tatooine working at freeing slaves. So my thing is that story could have been a book of its own. You could have done a Sabe book where she and Tanra were fighting against blah, 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 blah on Tatooine, attempting to free the slaves. And I got to tell you, that could be a very powerful book in and of itself. But it seemed like it was just sort of shoehorned in this book where, okay, we did this, now I have to go away, and now I'm back. And
it kind of does feel like we start the book off excited about the prospect of that, and then we end the book exactly where we left off. It's like, okay, we're ready to begin, and the book's done.
And again, I think that sort of manifests that idea of being told and not really being immersed. It's not necessarily a story, it's like a record. And while that can be fine, it kind of diminished it it diminished that potential powerful story. And then there's even a mini story in here about Beru, where she...
Yeah, we have our young girl stories, our little flashbacks.
Yeah. Now, the thing about Beru is she actually... And we got to see a glimpse of this in Kenobi where, you know, she's clearly more ready to defend her home than her husband. She's clearly ready to take on about anything. So she's a complete BA there. But we see in this story, this little mini story where she has some other skills. She was actually trying to help locate Shmi's chip, her slave chip. And then, which they eventually did do, and how she then afterwards continued to do that. And that's an interesting wrinkle in her character. She's not just like the homemaking, dutiful wife of a moisture farmer. She actually has more layers that aren't necessarily apparent. Because in the original movies, I mean, it was so brief. She was just like, yeah, Owen, let him go. Drink your milk and shut up. and then, you know, so, well, you could do a Beru story too. Maybe like a shorter story, because I don't know how many people would be that interested in Beru's story. But I think I'd be interested
because they kind of set it up where Shmi and Beru kind of had an adventure saving these people.
It kind of did, didn't it?
And it was actually a really tragic but triumphant story, because we even get little points where, like, she's describing what's like when they realize it's too late and they failed and the chip's about to detonate, and how everyone was reacting. It's like, clearly they've done this many times. And, you know, their main goal, and who knew that Shmi could like program things.
Yeah,
and realistically, how
exactly.
much of Anakin's skill set was passed on from
his
her.
mom. Yeah.
I mean, C-3PO kind of takes on a different aura to him, considering that's literally a gift from a gift of knowledge passed down from mother to son, and then back to the mother through Anakin's affection. It's really all he could do for her, being so, slave, obviously, no money, not even poor, but they set up so much there, and even like the tragic end of that story where it's like we were so close, we were trying to figure out how to get this program working, but then Shmi died, and then it just stopped. And it's like, well, man, don't you think that would be a really cool setup to what happens with her getting kidnapped? I mean, all the way up to that point, I think that could be a really, and you could even go into some of the stories of her torture and everything and really get into what she had to go through and endure. And I think that would really, not necessarily want to get into that, but like see what she was going through,
Well, I mean, I'm almost saying that even if you didn't want to break it out specifically for Beru, you could do the Sabe story and you could meet Beru along the way, and she could tell you like, hey, I want to thank you for like continuing this. This is what we did. And maybe you learn a little bit of it in there, like a side quest or something like that. Let me tell you about, Shmi Skywalker, and then you kind of have that kind of connection, because obviously Sabe is now hyper aware of Anakin and what he means and everything. So yeah, I'm with you there. One other thing I did want to kind of touch on here a little bit too, that I thought just felt, it felt like something that perhaps our writer didn't want to deal with all that much. And apparently there had been some interviews where I guess she might have been a little bummed out, is dealing with the Anakin Padme relationship, because we get to the point where Sabe finds out about it, and apparently like all of her handmaidens know, which is interesting to think about. But we have this sort of end of book confrontation between Sabe and Padme, and it very much showcases, I think, a lot more of what I feel like maybe the writer thinks about the relationship than perhaps what the relationship actually is. However, I will say that the relationship is a bit nuts, but it didn't feel like it advanced it any. It only made it feel a lot more foolish to me. Because effectively what Sabe's, basically saying, my inference of the writing of what Sabe's saying is like, it sounds like you guys just both like the bubble of your relationship, this adventure seeking, the thrill of it all. And, I understand why you like him and so forth. And it makes Padme look
childish.
Yeah, childish, a bit naive. It makes Anakin.
She kind of hits the nail on the head when Padme is going through the series of events. Like, well, there was the attempt on my life, and then Anakin went through all this darkness. He killed all these people, and then I couldn't deal with that. But then we went to Geonosis, and then you got married. Well, when you put it that way,
yeah, but see that's kind of where, for me, I would just be like, there actually is some stuff in between that you could highlight.
Sure. Absolutely.
To build the relationship. And I again, this is just a feeling I get. I feel like the writer, E.K. Johnston, perhaps didn't really like that relationship that much and didn't really want to advance it any further. Or maybe it was, Disney direction. Who knows? Who knows how much sway like the editors have over kind of what they're doing here. But I mean, in a way, Anakin and Padme's relationship was one of those, Gone with the Wind, Notebook, love at first sight, super strong, whirlwind kind of romances and so forth. But there is time in between these pillars.
There's development. There was development from Phantom Menace on, really, when you think about it. But one line that kind of just almost ruins the character of Padme with all the buildup all the setup for her to be this amazing character. When she makes a comment, you once told me that when I fall for someone, it will be. How exactly did she put it?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what the wording was.
But basically saying, I'll just turn into an idiot when I eventually fall in love. And throughout the book, she's just trying to convince her. It's like, you told me that, and it's true. Mm-hmm. I don't know. That was just a sour note for me personally. Some of the interactions they had with Anakin and Padme weren't terrible. They had some decent moments in their honeymoon and whatsoever, and a couple of choice encounters, but it does set it up to be a very, I don't know, it's just awkward. Not as awkward as, Attack of the Clones, but awkward.
Well, again, that's kind of what I'm saying, though, is I felt like it was set just to be awkward instead of making it a little bit more kind of natural and loving. I feel like there are a lot of people out there who don't necessarily either want to see the love or could feel the love in the two characters. And perhaps, you could say a lot about a lot of things in that. So I think it could go a lot of different ways. I would, I don't know. I don't want to be sappy about it, but I do like, the potential for actual love out there and not lust. I wouldn't mind, have fleshed their actual love out a little bit more as opposed to making it so almost childish in a way, because I don't view Padme as childish. I've always viewed her as a lot stronger than that. You look at Padme in Clone Wars, or just how she was there. But then again, you also have her death of a broken heart, which is kind of lame. But George, appreciate you, George. Appreciate that a lot. So
I had actually seen, this was all speculation. Obviously, there's no real proof behind it, but a theory, and we talked about this a little bit last week, a theory that like Sidious was actually force healing Anakin after the Battle of Mustafar by stealing her life force, and it wasn't really just dying from a broken heart. And honestly, even though it's not true, it's not what was written, I think that would have been a better end to her character than the broken heart thing.
I don't necessarily like it as much, because that potentially, with as powerful as Palpatine is, if he's siphoning life force, you have two other lives in there. So I don't personally like, you could also build on that. If he's that naive and he can't sense it, then perhaps leaving a little piece of life force from, say, Luke and Leia, or Luke or Leia, could have potentially, built up Anakin to eventually come back to the light. I don't personally care for it. I would have preferred that maybe they would have done something more like, the birth was particularly hard, or there was something connected with this that, she actually this was like a high risk pregnancy, and she lost the will to live, which in a lot of cases, the will to live can be as healing as medicine can be. If you do not have the will to pass through an illness, the potential is that you could fall to the illness. That's very common.
Absolutely.
I just don't like this whole
with not having
broken
will
heart
to
thing.
live. My only thing with not having will to live is like you're giving birth to two children.
That's not you can't. Yeah,
you have a will to live.
No. You can't hang on that. I've known a lot of people that doesn't stop them from potentially going down negative roads. If you're in a negative mindset, that's a difficult thing to deal with. So I don't want to discount what you said, but it's not necessarily a universal constant that will help somebody through it.
Yeah,
so
true enough.
It's sad, but it's unfortunately true. So anyway, I guess some of the in quotations meat of the book, I suppose we could kind of get into, I guess.
Not a whole lot of meat, but it is lean, so can't complain. Like I said, not a lot of fat to really wade through here. It's a decent, concise story.
Yeah. Well, we kind of get in here a little bit with the in quotations wedding, although didn't really do anything with it. I kind of felt like they could have just, I don't know, did something more with it. It's a wedding. Like, they talked about the secret cloth, but it's like that, or not secret, but like special cloth, wedding cloth or whatever. But it just sort of seemed like we just really ratcheted through that and just didn't really spend much time on it.
Yeah, and I mean, we get like this little mission that happens, right? Was it right before the wedding? Like, she has to run off and they have to run off and save somebody or something, or is it right after the wedding?
No, it was like right before, like she gets back in quotes in time for the wedding. Yeah, she's sent on a rescue mission by the Queen of Naboo to save, well, the Queen wants them to save her sister, who is an artist that's living on an adjacent planet. And there are a couple of other people of Naboo, Nabooians.
Nabooites.
God. That are off. They're artists.
Yeah. Got our Spice Kid.
Yeah, I'm not really sure about that. So here's the problem.
A lot of social commentary in this book.
I do have a problem with that in a way, because, like, okay, so, marijuana is a, I would call it a warm button topic. I wouldn't necessarily call it a hot button topic much anymore, because I think it's kind of like lost a lot of its mystique, and I think people are a little bit more accepting of it now, just in general. But spice is not Space's marijuana. It's actually
I sure want it to be.
It's a very powerful drug that is, it's not recreational. Like, you're talking about the drugs in Star Wars are crippling. They're not good. There's a reason why you don't, like, Poe didn't want to be known as a spice runner. You know what I mean? Because it's not good. So I think that kind of analogy between that is like pain management. Well, okay, but you could have made up a route.
Doesn't the Star Wars universe also have better pain management medicine than using a drug?
Yeah, well,
I mean, they try to make Naboo out to be something terrible when it's not. Like, this guy's supposed to convince us that Naboo just doesn't care about the little guy. It's like, no, dude.
Well, they're artists. That's tends to be sometimes what happens. Artists have, in quotes, and this isn't derogatory, but like weird brains. They have a different way of looking at things, which is great. You need artists.
But Naboo, like, they celebrate art.
They do, yeah.
So, I mean, for Naboo, that's like a celebrity almost to be an artist. So it's just kind of weird how they have such a sour opinion of Naboo when really they take care of their artists pretty well.
Yeah.
It just seemed like it was shoehorned in for social commentary.
Yeah, a bit. And I feel like the way I look at this kid is he's an addict. It's not pain management. He's an addict of spice.
Well, and like, they make Anakin out to be the bad guy for pointing this out. It's like, no, I kind of agree with him.
Yeah, kind of do. So we do, and again, this was very quick. We do get the sister back, and that's it. The rest of the people stay, and we don't hear anything more about it. Like, there's no consequence. Yeah, no. It just sort of seemed like we're gonna go, and that's it. Oh,
it's like reading a comic, just like a filler, adventure comic.
Exactly.
I felt like this would have been a much better use of character development between Anakin and Padme, because we have some interaction, but none of it's like super substantial.
Yep.
It's almost like it was set up for that, and then they scrapped it, but kept the little adventure regardless.
Yep. Yeah, it just kind of seemed like a bit of a meh thing. You really could have just focused on like the happiness of a wedding and building their relationship a bit more and putting a little bit more feeling into it, but it just didn't quite seem to be there. Then we move on to Sabe, who, like we already talked about, is off with Tanra, Captain Tanra, attempting to liberate slaves. They have, some scanners. They're trying to do their best. Interesting sort of tech, these chips. What it kind of like talk about, like self-replication and programming and all this, like they're really crazy advanced, which seems a little, it actually seems a little
For
weird.
a slave chip, it kind of defeats the purpose of, and I'm trying to be careful what I say here because we're talking about human life, but like these chips are probably extremely expensive. Doesn't that kind of defeat the purpose of having free labor when you're going to put all that money into it? Or is this just easy to replicate?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, but it does, it seems like a lot. Like, I don't know. It seems
has
like
its
a
own
lot.
like scanning system to tell if it's being tampered with, and it will self-destruct. And
Yeah,
like,
which I get having fail safes and everything. It just seemed like, wow, this really is a piece of technology. But I guess it just makes the kind of story of the slaves a lot more tragic, and also makes it a lot more impactful when it's like, well, you don't just get out of it.
right.
You know?
Didn't it seem like something you would read about the Empire, like enslaving Wookiees? Like it's something the Empire would use, not just slave traders in Tatooine.
Yeah, it was strange, but it does put, and again, that's why a Sabe Tanra book would be pretty sweet. You know, just going through that and maybe explaining a little bit more of the tech and like why they use it this way or something like that, and yada yada yada. It could be a really interesting. Well, and again, just give to E.K. Johnston. Like, just let her continue to build the story of Sabe. Because I'll say this: it's very clear to me that E.K. Johnston's favorite character is Sabe.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, without doubt.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I don't know if it's because of that or just my preference, but Sabe is my favorite character of the book too.
Well, I got,
which is weird talking about a Padme book.
Yeah.
But.
I mean, I'm always gonna be a Sasha main. Like,
Sasha is pretty cool.
She
they don't give Sasha enough credit, but her portions are really cool.
Yeah, she you know, obviously was the one who was tortured during the occupation, and kind of became a big symbol. And like we already talked about, you know, she was on her way to becoming, you know, governor of their sort of tri-ruled system. But, you know, Sasha, I think, was just really cool. But Sabe is a really close second there. Obviously had the closest relationship to Padme. And we got...
That's where descriptors actually work, by the way. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're
but
good.
Like talking a lot about like her makeup choices.
Yeah.
Because she specifically wants to show her scars. That's a descriptor that's actually developing a character and useful in the story.
Mm-hmm.
Not like just picking which bun to use to fit your hair in a helmet so you don't have to cut it off.
Well, they also mention a little later with Sabe about like the lines of being on Tatooine and, you know, mission after mission after mission. So some of those differences are actually kind of cool. You know, the years go by, the differences will become more apparent because you're all living different lives. Even though you might be doing the same routine, you are still different people. So those are the kind of things that are cool details for sure.
Right. You know, obviously Sabe is going to be a little bit more weathered living on Tatooine, and, you know, she doesn't really tolerate the senatorial side of it anymore like she used to. So she really isn't that good of a double in that aspect.
Yeah, and she's certainly coming into her own. Now, she's called back by Padme. They're going to run the double scheme here so that Padme can go on a mission. That's sort of fronted by Bail Organa.
Another mission.
Yeah, it's crucial. And only Padme can do it because there's tea involved.
Yeah, revolutionary tea, man.
I mean, we could probably sum up this whole mission very quickly with it's a Neimoidian who is effectively attempting to change the perception of the Trade Federation. I don't know if I can pronounce this Neimoidian's name.
OJ Nadib.
Nadib? Okay, there you go.
Just gonna say Nadib.
Checkered past by their own admission, but wanted to effectively lure Padme out so that he could divulge this plan, and they're effectively freeing some people, sending them to what is that adjacent planet to Naboo? It's fine. I don't remember the name of it either. We were on it with
It's a minor planet, isn't it?
Maybe as we go along, maybe I'll
Keto minor or something like that. I don't.
Yeah, I don't remember. It's fine. Which we're aren't we the detail people?
It's not in the plot summary.
Yeah, whatever. It's cool. Well, you know what? There aren't there normally like locations,
Planet list or something. Details.
Yeah, we should. Where is this stupid planet? I'll keep looking and
Locations. Oh my God.
I'll keep. Yeah, there's a lot of location. God, this is. Hey, we mentioned it. I love this unidentified rocky planet. What is that? Good job, Wikipedia. I appreciate you to no end. You make me laugh. Okay, so that's pretty much Padme's secret mission. It all wraps up pretty nicely. It's not really even. I don't know. There's not much to talk about. We have 2 Wookiee pilots. That little. I don't remember the name. What was our creature? Our little buddy.
Zeeby.
Was that the name?
Zeeby. Is it Zeeby?
Okay.
I think it's Zeeby. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. You sure?
No, because there's a Zeeby and then a Zeeby's daughter.
Nah, dude.
So
that's not
Zeeby.
it. Come on, man. You're better than this.
Person.
You're better.
Bird person.
Bird person.
Rick and Morty.
Oh.
Bird person.
Okay. Oh,
No,
boy.
I'm trying.
You are. I don't even remember. They had wings that don't actually let
Can't
them
fly. It's how they balance.
Yeah. What a terrible. God, we are terrible today. What is our deal? I think we've been dealing too much with Kenobi. Well,
Yeah.
I found the two Wookiees.
It's impressive. I wouldn't have guessed the Wookiees. Did you just keep clicking names till you found a picture of a Wookiee?
Nah, they just said, oh, okay, Maurice. It's Ida or Ida. But Maurice was the species.
The species, yeah.
So anyway, that was their engineer. They had the Iffy, the droid G1FY.
Iffy juice.
Oh God, what a weird thing. But yeah, the droid was actually under effectively the programming of our Nimordian, and that's what it was. Typho came to. So, yay!
So essentially, the main plot of this book is pretty much Padme helping this guy replace Lot Dodd.
Yes, very true.
Putting her vote in for this guy.
Yeah. I mean, that you are indeed correct. And fine story, I suppose. Nothing.
I don't know if it's book worthy, but it's a thing.
Yeah, I would say that Sasha's thing was a little bit more interesting to me.
Yeah, I kind of wish we would have fleshed that out a little bit more. It was just more interesting as far as like being a fan of Naboo and Naboo culture. Like they're trying to get rid of this bill that essentially makes it so Naboo can takes resources from every planet and call upon that no matter what, and they get to decide what they need, not just specifically laid out resources that they are allowed to ask for. And
right.
They're kind of paranoid to get rid of this bill because of the blockade, obviously, almost starving to death. And everyone else kind of panicked about that, and they're actually talking about switching up the way they do their government, which ultimately is Palpatine's plan all along to insert his figurehead.
Yeah, so I wish they kind of would have spent a little bit more time on this particular story because it's actually, like I said, it's actually kind of interesting, and it's so unimportant here that it's not even in like the plot summaries, really.
Well, Padme doesn't even like comment on it throughout the book.
Correct.
Which is just weird.
It's just a little side Sashay quest where we meet Harley again. And yeah, there's an existing bill. And what my big question is so was this just Naboo who passed this? Or I would have to assume that because it involved these other systems, that the other systems had to have been notified or had some sort of cogent agreement here or something.
I would imagine they'd have representatives in this hearing to pass or
that's
veto the bill.
Yeah, that's kind of why that's kind of something I feel like we needed to know more
could have been
about.
Fleshed out, could have had these people coming up to Sashay and really stating their case, and maybe you see a part of Naboo that isn't so rainbows and sunshine. Maybe there's some messed up things going on there, or maybe it's just showing that they are one of the most compassionate planets, and they want to try and take care of everybody by choosing to pass this bill. I mean,
well, no, the thing is that it's all about the original bill, right? Not the later one that comes. Because yeah, you're right. It shows a lot of compassion, but my whole thing is, what about the original bill? Because again, if you're just saying Naboo unilaterally passed this original bill that effectively is screwing planets out of stuff without any sort of representation, I want to know that. Or did other planets have some sort of agreement in there? Because then, no offense, but like if you make a crappy agreement, it's a crappy agreement that you made. And I don't know if that's the case. And that's kind of what I want.
I mean, they kind of lean towards it being mutually agreed upon, but they never really state it outright. And it's just a weird thing to keep ambiguous. I mean, I don't understand it.
It is. So I don't know, man. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And I wish it had been fleshed out, because like showing compassion's great. And I think that the eventual deal that they made is probably beneficial, sort of. Although it actually, we kind of see the darker side of Panaka here, because he basically says it's like, oh, so you chose to weaken yourself. And this is laying,
and Palpatine even mentions this,
right? And this is laying the stones to put Panaka in. But at the same token, I mean, what would have happened? I don't know that there was anything that would have saved Naboo anyway. If you're going to have Sheev Palpatine claiming this is his home planet, it's screwed no matter what you do. But it just sort of seems like I just wish they would have explained the original bill a little bit better, because it all seems to have went to Panaka's plan. But then it's like, but what was the plan?
Right.
I don't know. It just sort of, again, we detail certain things, but not other things. And perhaps that's just the young adultness of the novel. But that just sort of seems like an important thing that could have been a little bit more time spent on it, perhaps.
Yeah. One thing I found kind of weird with the whole Course Panaka thing, obviously this book focuses more on the dark side of Sidious, and we don't really see a lot of the governor, the nice guy, Palpatine stuff. He's even kind of imposing around Sashay and everything too, but it's kind of weird, like they mention his interactions and friendship with Panaka, almost like they are genuine friends. And it's just kind of weird to portray Sidious in that way, to me.
Well, yeah, it is. It is a little strange. I think who's almost to know? Like is this like kind of another almost Tarkin-esque thing? Where there's potentially a measure of respect in a way. I don't know.
Right. Although at the same time, he might have respected Tarkin, but he also really messed up his life a bit in the process too, with his son and everything. But
sure.
But yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of weird dichotomy. It was kind of jarring.
Well, I mean, that just makes Sidious badder, really, when you think about it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, let's just say friends is probably not the right word anyway, because if Panaka ever crossed him, he'd just kill him. So there you go. But yeah, Panaka definitely became a pawn. So that is sad. But anyway, I just wish they would have fleshed out the Sasha story a little bit more. That would have been good.
Yeah.
Good for me. And you know what? Dorme. Again, this book, it details things, but not others. But like Dorme is effectively running everything underneath Padme.
Pretty much.
I mean, if there's no Dorme, things would not be that great. So,
yeah, very underappreciated character.
Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way, I just saw this tidbit as you were talking. Sasha in Phantom Menace was played by Sofia Coppola.
Really?
Francis Ford Coppola's daughter. Yep.
Huh. Well, that's kind of cool.
So there you go.
Did she have dialogue?
No.
Other than
God, no.
very simple stuff. I don't think, because I think, is it Sabe is the only one that like Anakin talks to
Correct.
and interacts with technically?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that that was oh my goodness. I'm forgetting her name. The actress. Oh hell. What's the actress's name? Who played Sabe in the movie? You don't remember either.
No, I'm looking it up because I don't.
Oh,
Keira
Knightley. Dang it.
Keira Knightley.
It was just on the cusp of remembrance. But yeah, so yeah, that was Keira Knightley was Sabe.
Yeah.
But yes, that was
Also another
basically
thing
the only one that Anakin really interacted with at that time as a kid. She mentions that too. Is like he was the only one who asked my name. He's a sweet boy and all that good sort of stuff.
It's kind of interesting how they try to set up the whole Vader comic series with their interactions now. Like,
yeah,
I did kind of like that a little bit. His overly aggressive, childish attitude towards her, calling him out on pretty much everything that he's doing.
Right, but she also admits that he can be charming, and he does have those traits as well. So it's interesting.
Another thing, just kind of since we're jumping everywhere with this, we do get another short story of Brio Organa, which I thought was kind of neat.
Yeah,
a little mention of that. I wish I would have fleshed that out a bit more. It was kind of simple, kind of poke and jab at. I don't know. It was just okay.
Well, I
But
mean,
I wish
what are we
fleshed it
talking
out.
about this breathing thing? That was something that, because I've never really dived into the character all that much, and it is what it is. But she's wearing a breathing plate. Like,
Yeah.
was she sick?
I don't know. Just one of those kind of swept under the rug characters, I guess.
I'm actually really interested. I'm
odd.
kind of kicking myself because I actually did want to look into that before we recorded, and I didn't.
I actually didn't know before this book that Bale took her last name. Did not know that.
That is something on Alderaan that they do.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So, here we go. So, at the age of 16, she underwent Day of Demand ceremony, claiming the right to the throne, 3 challenges that she'd have to complete. While completing her challenge of the body, Brea suffered a bad fall. Her injuries nearly killed her, if not for a quick action by one of the guards who was observing at a distance. Although she did survive, her heart and lungs had to be replaced by, what the heck word is that? Pulmonodes?
Pulmonodes.
Yeah, so apparently that's mechanized stuff. So she's more machine than woman. Unlike most people who receive such mechanized organ replacements, however, she refused to encase them in new flesh and skin, choosing instead to keep them visible as a reminder that she lived. So there you go. Didn't know that. Now I know.
I wonder if it looks like. Don't let me forget her name. Our assassin from the Boba Fett series.
Fennec?
Fennec. wonder if it looks like Fennec's
I don't know, but they sure as heck didn't point that out in Kenobi. Thanks. Just didn't let us know she had flipping robot parts.
She'd be the only one able to chase her daughter because she'd never run out of breath.
Maybe.
The only one that she couldn't get away from.
Very interesting, though. Kind of a neat thing. We'll have to do more with her in the future. I don't know if there's any
wouldn't
more.
mind doing more with both of them. I always like Bale as well. Obviously gets a lot more spotlight, ironically, because they portray her as the important one in this book, but it's like only ever hear about Bale, really.
Well, I mean, because,
obvious reasons, of course.
Brea is Queen of Alderaan, and we don't really actually get into Alderaan much in sort of mainline. I'll look for some media. I'm sure there's some stuff out there that we can read in the future. But
I'd have to imagine some of the old Leia books would probably have some good tidbits about that.
It might be. I don't know. We'll look into it. So I guess as we kind of move around here, we've dealt with the 2 missions. We've dealt with Padme's missions. We've dealt with Sabe. I guess really the only other thing here is kind of the conclusion of Sabe and Padme towards the end of the book. Are we missing anything before that?
I don't think so.
Okay. Well, Sabe's made up her mind that she doesn't want to be on Coruscant. She wants to go her own way. And they have sort of their confrontation, which isn't really all that bad, but we already sort of talked about her views on Anakin. And then that, she'll effectively always serve Padme, but don't ask type of deal. And then she returns to Tatooine and to Tanra.
How she put that.
And they have and then we have our new and improved scanner, which means that they're going to have a lot easier time to save some slaves. They also did kind of make this whole thing with Tanra where they share a kiss, and I don't remember the exact wording, but basically it felt more like coming home, I think is what it was said. Something where the shadow of Padme had been lifted, because they did sort of talk about that in the last book with, I don't know, her love for Padme, infatuation with Padme, and now she feels that way for Tanra. And this is sort of, she even says, I need some time, but then still they embrace, and that sort of seems like a good, healthy thing for Sabe there.
Yeah, it was kind of weird how they worded that, too. It's like, I knew she'd never pick me, but, there's something going on back there. But it was good to see her get a normal, happy ending. Mm-hmm. Not be so, in the Queen's shadow, no pun intended, but I do like how she even puts that. I mean, even at the end, she's like, I will still do anything you ask me to do, but please don't abuse that anymore, basically.
Correct. Yeah. And also not to be nitpicky, but how the world is now. Nothing about normal ending, just, not trying to imply anything.
Oh, no. I just mean she didn't have to go through all this crazy stuff anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course, she is still trying to save slaves, so I guess she doesn't really have a normal, Beru and Lars ending where they just farm.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
But no, ultimately I do like the character development for Sabe throughout the books.
Yeah, and I don't know if I just maybe missed it in Queen's Peril. I don't think I did. But where did Tanra come from? Where did this on-off thing and now on thing even come from?
I think it's just implied in the time frame in between books.
It just kind of seems strange. Did we miss some little short comic or something? I feel like we missed something here because while I'm happy that Sabe has somebody that she clearly loves, maybe cares about, will end up with or whatever, where did it come from? I just feel like I missed something there. perhaps.
Yeah. Oh my God, we did forget one little plot point that wasn't in the plot summary. It was the Jedi whose family is kidnapped thing. You remember that? Or like a Jedi helps them. Somebody's family is kidnapped, and
yeah, that was that was on our planet we went to with Padme. It was the governor or whatever of the planet. The separatists were already on that planet that they went to.
It was like her granddaughter and granddaughter-in-law and their 3 kids got kidnapped or something. And who was our Jedi that helps them in that?
Well, Barriss Offee was there.
Barriss Offee. And then not her master, because I think her master dies, but like some other Jedi master is there to help as well. Crap, I can't remember. But yeah, that was the only thing I think we missed. Not a super important plot point, but another plot point anyway.
Yeah, I wanted to remember that. Apparently my computer, my mouse might be dying or something because everything's getting really choppy and I can barely click on stuff, so I can't necessarily
you're getting
find
kind of laggy
now.
too.
Yeah, oh good. So yeah, computer's a little chuggy on the old Zoom side, so I'm just gonna let it be for a second. But anyway, yeah, we did run into Barriss very briefly, and the general Jedi Master that was also kind of commanding the Republic troops there as well. So, let's see. Any other points we've got to talk about there? I think we've kind of went through most of the book, no?
Nothing huge. There was like some little thing with Plo Koon and Yoda and all them, but not even really a plot point. Just some commentary on the clones developing their own personalities more than anything. Nothing big.
Okay. Did you enjoy Catherine Tabor's Yoda?
Oh, it was the best Yoda ever. It's probably the only voice acting I didn't like. It sounded like if you or I did Yoda. Not trying whatsoever.
She really leans into those mms.
In case you don't know, this is Yoda.
Yep, that's Yoda, all right.
In case you can't tell by the way that they're talking, this is Yoda talking.
All right, man. Well, let's go ahead and roll into the ratings here. Give it a rating out of 5 and explain it.
Out of 5, yeah. This one's going to be a little bit tricky to rate properly because I do like the book. The little plot points, although some of them seemed underdeveloped and some of them seemed a little pointless, like our little first adventure before the wedding, there was nothing wrong with the story of the book. I just don't necessarily think it was an exciting story or one that even necessarily needed to be told for the most part. Compared to the other two, it's just not as epic. Kind of wish we had focused more on Sasha a bit, and Yane for that matter too. But for the most part, it's well done. We get some awkward moments with Anakin, but other than that, that's okay. I don't want to sound harsh on the book. I did enjoy it, but I'll give it a 3.9.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, just not, not up there. Super high. I'd probably never read it again, but it wasn't a bad story.
For sure. So Goodreads has it, if it'll stop popping up pop-ups, 1,500 ratings, 3.8 is what Goodreads has it on. Amazon's definitely higher, 4.5, I think, 4.4. So bit higher ratings there from the where we normally check. I do think some of the negative ratings are definitely, at least on Amazon, are definitely about, in quotations, the woke stuff that people label as woke, and so forth. Obviously we had, Sabe is bisexual. We have Sasha's aide. We were just talking about her, or not her, them. I don't remember the pronoun that they use, but And to be honest with you, I don't really remember if it was I feel like it might have been a non-binary situation, perhaps. They use some of those Z terms, I think, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong on that. And again, I'm not being flippant about it. I just genuinely don't remember. But they did introduce some of that, and people are always going to complain. And some of the pronoun stuff, it does get a little hard in an audiobook sometimes. And I remember one we did not too long ago where there were a lot of they and thems. And sometimes grammatically it does kind of hurt in an audiobook setting. I think it'd be a lot easier in a physical book setting to read through those at your own sort of speed, pace, and understanding. So it is what it is, man. I mean, we don't care one way or the other. It's fine to add that kind of stuff in my opinion. It doesn't bother me at all. Aside from some of the grammatical stuff that kind of gets jumbled in. It just all depends on the reader, really. But yeah, that seems to be the majority of the negative ratings. Some of them, however, on Goodreads actually do get a lot more in depth and in more of a critical, constructive way, as opposed to just woke, you bunch of woke libs and all that sort of stuff. So that's something that I can appreciate. And I think that a lot of it is some of my complaint as well with this book. I don't really think that this was something that truly told a real story. I think it was more like just being ushered through events in a way that was,
a day in the life.
Yeah, it just wasn't crazy interesting, because like Queen's Shadow was an amazing book. I loved Queen's Shadow, just like I loved Alphabet Squadron. And it just seems like I don't know if there's like a rush to the finish, or like maybe we just didn't have enough material for a trilogy and maybe stop signing up people for trilogies or whatever. Like, not everything has to be a trilogy. Or whatever it might be. But it just didn't really hit all the marks that Queen's Shadow did. And the storytelling was it felt like a young adult's novel. And that's not a slam, it did. It felt a lot less sophisticated than the first book did, and even the second book, despite dealing with other themes that were certainly more teen appropriate, I suppose. It just could have been better. Like, focus on something. It seemed very unfocused. It does, however, set up a very interesting potential for another book where you could just focus on Sabe freeing slaves and kind of like her grow up, and then eventually you just could, in that particular book, where the Vader comic is, where we see her interacting with Vader, and him thinking it's Padme and so forth. It's like, that's something that could be something if you wanted to do more media, her and Tanra's adventures type of deal, or not. Doesn't matter to me. It just could be cool, and you could bring in Beru as well and build upon that character that they obviously tried to bolster in Kenobi. But yeah, the book itself, it was just kind of a book. So I was probably going to be, I think I came in at a 3.7, I think is where I was at. I kind of in agreement, probably wouldn't necessarily reach for it. I don't know if ever is that might be a bit strong, but whereas I would certainly read Queen's Shadow and probably do a second read of Queen's Peril, this one was a bit more forgettable, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. So there we go. Yeah,
Queen's Shadow is one of those things where I would almost consider throwing it in for like an ultimate rewatch of everything, like watch Phantom Menace and then just listen to that real quick after.
Yeah, I could see that.
But I would not do that with this book.
For sure.
I don't even know where you'd throw it in. I guess it'd be right after Attack of the Clones or somewhere in Clone Wars.
Yeah,
in between.
Basically.
Like, I'm burnt out on Clone Wars. I'm going to listen to Queen's Hope.
yeah. That would probably be where it fits, I suppose.
Yeah.
So, well, there we go, folks. Anything else we need to run through? Ready to wind down?
Ready to wind down.
All righty. Well, folks, thank you very much for listening. We certainly appreciate that. If you want to interact, we are on the social media at TC Plan Podcast, Twitter, Facebook, or you can just send us an email to tcplanpodcast@gmail.com. Leave us what's your review of Queen's, the Queen's Hope this time. Let us know what your thoughts are. Are we way off base or whatever? More than happy to discuss any of your theories or whatever, or just general comments on that. If you keep it nice, we might just talk about it. But aside from that, that's all we got. So y'all have a good rest of your week.
And as always, may the Force be with you.